Hello, very good morning, everybody. So, this is Dr.G.P.Sudhakar, Professor of Management from India. Right. So, in this specific video, I am trying to distinguish between risk, issue, challenge, and then problem. See, you might have heard this terminology, right? Usually, people they keep exactly in which context we should use these specific words. These specific words. It is people level of understanding will be very vague. Risk, issue, challenge, and problem. What kind of scenarios we can use, or what is the meaning interpretation of these four words. I will try to briefly explain you about these things. See, basically, risk risk is an uncertain event which may or may not happen in future. Risk may happen or risk may not happen in future, right? That is a risk, right? You see, basically, a risk, we can assign certain probability to risk. We can assign certain impact level to risk. We can prioritize the risks of a project. For example, risk prioritization is possible using probability impact matrix. Probability impact matrix, right? So, like that, each risk requires a different strategy to handle. Each risk requires a different strategy to handle. Right. So, for example, a risk can be a positive risk and it can be a negative risk. Right. Positive risk is nothing but the opportunity. For example, you are executing one project to the customer. He says next week you have to start one more project. That is an opportunity. That is positive risk. What kind of strategies you can apply for positive risk? You can accept that risk, or you can enhance it, or you can exploit it. So these are the three different strategies you can use for positive risk. Similarly, negative risk. Negative risk means which can lead you to financial losses. For example, negative risk, what strategies you can apply? Risk response strategies. It can be mitigating that risk or transferring the risk to some insurance agency or avoiding the risk itself. Avoiding the risk itself. So, like that, a risk response strategies are there. With respect to positive risk, you have to apply different strategies. With respect to negative risk, also you have to apply different strategies. That is about risk. A risk is an uncertain event which may or may not happen in future. In future, right? So now let's move on. For example I will give you. For example, you are a vendor organization for a customer, right? No, customer company goes into financial losses. That is a risk for you, right? That is a risk for you, right? Now let's move on and learn about issue. Issue is something which you encounter during the execution of the project. That is, a issue is something which requires team attention. It requires team attention. An issue can be an open issue. For example, usually what happens is when you prepare weekly status reports, you specify these are the open issues in the project. That means, for example, an issue can be resolved issue or unresolved issue. Unresolved issue. If issue is not unresolved, it becomes a problem. Becomes a problem. If issue is not unresolved, it becomes a problem. After a few weeks also, if it is not resolved, it becomes a problem. Becomes a problem, right? For example, an issue can be you are integrating certain software product. Example can be you are integrating a couple of modules. You found a bug in another module which was developed by another team. Usually what happens, you specify in the weekly status report that this specific bug has been found in so and so, has been found in so and so module. And it becomes an open issue because entire team has to be aware of it. It becomes a team has to be, which requires team attention, another team's attention, another team's attention. That is that is nothing but an issue which is encountered during the execution of the project. Execution of the project, right? Now let's move on. Learn about what is a challenge. What is a see, challenge is some of the difficulty which you have encountered during the execution of the project. It is a difficulty you encountered during the execution of the project, right? That means, for example, while execution, you want to set up a manufacturing plant for automobile manufacturing plant. You want to set up. The while execution of the project, challenge can be how. What can be an example? Rehabilitation or resettlement of the affected people where you are setting up of a manufacturing plant. That is a challenge. That is a challenge. That is a difficulty which you encountered during the project execution. It is a difficulty you encountered during the project execution. Right. If challenge is not resolved, if it is not over, then also it becomes a problem. Challenge is not resolved, then also it becomes a problem. If you is not resolved, then also it becomes a problem. Right. What is the problem? Problem is its scope is larger. It is a roadblock. We are hitting a roadblock. That is the problem. Problem is nothing but a roadblock. Hitting a roadblock. That means its difficulty level is high. It is a difficult. Its difficulty level is high. It requires detailed solution. Problem requires a detailed solution. It requires problem solving approach. That means a specific approach is required to solve that problem. A detailed solution is required in case of problem, right? So and also every problem has got certain complexity. Complexity level will be there for a problem, right? So and another, for example, you are one political party is doing campaigning in a election campaigns. Farmer agitation at the same time when they are doing the campaign, farmer agitation. That is a problem because it requires a detailed solution, right? So doing agitation during a political campaign is one of the problem, right? Like this, an issue, a risk issue, then comes challenge, and then comes problem. See, the scope increases the moment risk may or may not happen. Risk and issue can be which requires attention. It is a defect or no bug which requires attention of another people. A challenge is the difficulty in a difficult situation encountered during project execution. And the problem is more complex. It requires detailed solution. It requires a problem solving approach. Approach, a specific approach is required to solve that specific problem. Right, its scope is larger. Right. So like this, we can distinguish between risk, issue, challenge, and right. Hope I am able to convey whatever. Right. So thank you.